This week's video is about believing in our children and ensuring that the narrative we present them with is one that gives them hope and ability to believe in themselves and raise self-esteem, as opposed to one which leads to self-doubt. So to start with, I'm going to tell a story right back from when I started teaching. And there was a child in my group, and this tells you how old I am. We were doing CSEs and O-levels, and she was in the CSE group. Now, she was definitely going to get a grade 1 CSE. Now, for those of you who are similar age, you will know that a CSE grade 1 was meant to be equivalent to a grade C O-level. However, we also all knew that although that was what it was meant to be equivalent to, and it might be for getting you to the next stage of education, it was generally considered, yes, but it's a CSE, it's not an O-level. And it was sort of lower currency, if you like, in the workplace. So I had a child who was in the CSE group. Now, she was a very, very bright child. She had pockets of missed attendance because of the nature of the family business. They ran a STEAM fair, and she was in the CSE group, and her self-esteem was really low. And I was working with her, and I thought, you know what, you could go in for the O-level. And so we said we were going to put her into both. The CSE was all coursework, so we would submit her coursework for CSE, but we would also allow her to sit the O-level. And it was at the same time as the GCSEs were coming in, and we were doing a trial for the GCSEs. So we sat her for the O-levels, and she got her O-level grade C. But the significant thing is her view of herself. When she knew that we believed in her enough to put her in for the O-level, her attitude to learning changed. It became much more positive. She started to believe in herself because we believed in her. And part of our job as teachers is to help our students to find their voice, because they'll need their voice in society as grown-ups. You know, they'll need that as much as, and if not more so, than qualifications. So there's another child who recently, she's on this, I should say they, now referred to as they, being gender fluid, wanted to be able to wear trousers for school. This person has autism, and wearing a skirt is really difficult for this person. And there was a mental health day at the school, and they have now been allowed to wear trousers and be referred to as they. And this has made a huge difference, because in helping this person to have the voice to say these things in the first place, this person is now using that voice for their own good and also the good of those around them. Now, the reason this is being done now is because children are returning to school. And they're returning to school amongst a narrative that is all about lost generation, lost opportunities, missing out, playing catch up. It's all been catch up, and missed and lost, and oh gosh. Now, we are then telling these children that they have missed out, that they have lost, that they will not catch up, they will remain behind. What is that doing to their self-esteem? And it's our job to up the self-esteem. That's what we're there for as teachers. That's what we do. So what I'm basically saying is we need to turn this around and make it into a positive narrative. Now, if the narrative coming through the general media and everywhere else is going to be this negative one, then it becomes our job as specific teachers, individuals, and as people working within education, working with other professionals, to make sure this other narrative is told. Because otherwise these children are going to just believe that they are a lost generation, they have missed out, they will never catch up, they will never earn as much, they will never. So let's look at what the opportunities have been, and let's sell those opportunities. They are now a generation who have teachers who have learned to use other methods of teaching. They're teachers who may have sort of avoided a lot of this online stuff and webinars and all these other ways of learning, have had to really think about it. If they're special needs children, for some of them, they've had opportunities to be in school within smaller groups and therefore have much more focused education. Others will have been at home. Some will have disengaged totally. And they're the ones who are being told, oh, you've lost out, you've lost out. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they've engaged in other things, and that has maybe helped them in other ways. Disengaging from the national curriculum isn't necessarily disengagement from education. You know, it's a much more complicated thing than that. So, but having teachers who have had to consider, how do we re-engage and re-energise our children who are disengaged by this online process? And they've had to really drill down, dig deep and work out their pedagogy, which they may not have even addressed for years because they haven't needed to. They've just got on and done, this is what we do, this is what we have to change this now, so we'll do that, and we do this, and we do that. They've had to actually totally reassess the purpose of education, what they're doing within education, how they manage to impart education and have it as a two-way learning process. They've had to reconsider so much. So actually these teachers have learned. They've been on like a refresher course, and this could be an opportunity. Can then, oh well, what of the stuff we've learned through doing this all online and doing this in bubbles and doing this in this way and that way, what have we learned that we can now take forward into our general practice? Well, that makes us surely richer teachers, a teacher that is going to be of benefit to the generation who have been through the whole COVID pandemic. So we can look at it as an opportunity to grow, to change, to develop. And we're looking at mental health. We keep getting told we've got to look at mental health. Now, a lot of our mental health is actually wrapped up in our circumstances and our self-esteem. One thing's funny enough, this morning I've been studying about something we call tzedakah, which is like righteousness, charity, those sorts of concepts. And it talks about giving, as in giving money, giving material goods is one level, but the higher level is giving that whole emotional support, that whole well-being, that whole engagement, that whole let's work this out together. What's your lived experience? How can I feel some of that lived experience and make it even better for you and give you the tools to move forward? Well, that resonates so much with what we need to do as teachers. You know, we are there for more than just imparting the national curriculum that will get them through the GCSEs and the A-levels and whatever else it is. We are there for so much more than that. We are there as educators for the whole person. That includes the mental health, that includes the self-esteem, and that includes drilling down and saying, well, what have we learned? We may not have learned about the Romans or whatever it was we were going to study, but we have learned something during this. Now, if what we've learned is how to be resilient, if what we've learned is, oh, actually, what matters is seeing people who we care about. I didn't realise that mattered. I've learned a lot about the importance of the social side of things. These are all things we've learned. These are positives to bring forwards. And if we can focus and change our narrative to, instead of being missed out, lost generation, never do this, catch up, catch up, catch up. If we can get rid of that as the main narrative and start thinking about, wow, I know it's been hard. Oh gosh, it's been hard. And it's been hard for everyone. You know, even the people who've managed to still stay in work or whatever, it's hard. We've all had things that have changed. I miss my parents so much. I miss my grandchildren. It's difficult. However, I would not have embraced all the technology I have had to embrace had it not been for this pandemic. You know, webinars, Zoom, Blackboard Collaborate, Teams, Meet, I mean, just platform. They're all different, and yet, you know, suddenly I'm learning to navigate. And when I get to one and it's like, whoa, not going as I thought, instead of being put off, I'm like, well, how am I going to get around that? How am I going to work it? And these are things we are learning. So let's move forward with the positives. How have we grown? What have the opportunities been? What have we learned? How can we change moving forwards in a positive way so that coming back to being together in school is not an identical experience to the one we left behind a year ago? You know, this is a different experience. So what can we bring with? What can we have learned and what can we take forwards in how we work with our children? That will be different for each of us. But let's keep the idea really firmly in our head that it is about well-being, self-esteem. It doesn't help someone's self-esteem if they're told they've lost out. You know, this girl who I taught way back in my first year of teaching, when she thought she was a CSE student, her self-esteem was that of a CSE student. When she was told, actually, you can do the O-level, there's no reason why not, you're totally capable, her self-esteem grew, her engagement grew, her abilities grew, because she had that self-belief. Well, if we're going to help our children to have self-belief, we have to believe in ourselves as teachers and in our pupils. We have to believe that they can and help them to believe they can achieve. Thank you.